Good evening and welcome back to another episode of the Push to Pass podcast. I am Derik Vance and I will be bringing in the other two characters that make up the Push to Pass podcast here shortly. But welcome back this evening. If you are a first-time viewer / listener, we welcome you. If you are a returning audience member, thank you for tuning in to the Push to Pass podcast. A lot to discuss. A lot to analyze and break down this evening as we take a look at what we witnessed, what all three of us witnessed this past weekend at the Barber Motorsports Park in outside of Birmingham, Alabama, at the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix. But before we get into any of that, let me bring in the other cast of characters, as I said, that makes up the Push to Pass podcast. First, as always, Josh, I know you have to be gleaming with pride. And as much as I hate to say this, you have not one, not two, but potentially three of your college teams, and that college will not be mentioned here this evening, going into their national championship games. So you got to be gleaming with pride.
Oh yeah. The men's basketball team didn't give me quite as scare as the hockey team last night. You know, they were up 3-0 going into the third period, and ended up only winning 4-3. But on to the Final Four, the Frozen Four, and hopefully here in about 3 hours I'll have a third team in the women's going. But it was a heck of a race. It was a heck of a race this past weekend, and I can't wait to break it all down and talk to you guys about it.
Definitely a lot to discuss as Michael has done the pre-show notes, so a lot to get into, and again, we'll get into that here shortly. But let's bring in the aforementioned Michael Monroe. I know, Michael, you're probably a little salty because your favorite basketball team surprisingly got beat by a player from the state of Indiana.
Yeah, well, we won't mention that team, but Duke let me down. But the good news is Michigan's still in it, and we can get rid of all the Ohio State fans that are barking like they always do. So yes, it was a great race, and yeah, can't wait to talk about it with you guys.
You know, I know this isn't a college sports show, but you reminded me. I didn't know Ohio State played college basketball, so thank you for reminding me of that. But yes, a lot to discuss, a lot to get into as the show unfolds. But before we talk what took place this weekend in Barber Motorsports Park, please, depending on what platform you're listening on, if it's Facebook, please like and share, and even subscribe to the page. YouTube, same thing, like and share and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then also on X and or Twitter, whatever generation you grew up in, like and share and follow the Push to Pass podcast on that as well. Michael, like I said, I know you have made up the list of topics that we are going to have our roundtable discussion, as we have had here since we started season 3. So I'm going to let you run with those topics, and let's get into them.
Yeah, well, first off, I just the initial thoughts of the race. I thought it was a pretty interesting race. We have a lot to talk about on that front, because I feel like you, Derik, definitely wasn't having the best time there. So it's definitely, I thought it was an interesting race. I really loved all the strategy and things of that nature. So I'd love to get, Derik, especially your initial thoughts on the race.
Well, as we were group texting on Sunday during the race, and if you've ever listened to this show for once, I absolutely despise. No, Josh, it's not the team up north. Well, they're right up there. But we are follow the leader racing. And that's exactly what I thought was on display on Sunday. Outside of Christian Lundgaard's gigantic lead that his crew members like Chris Webber did back in the 90s chokes it away, this was actually a real boring race to me. Again, it was follow the leader, and surprise, surprise, who the leader was. If you just read the title of the show, I think you can put two and two together and figure out who it was. But just this follow the leader, I get that, Michael, you were talking about or texting throughout there the sports arousal that was going down your leg with this mid-pack racing that apparently Fox may or may not listen to the show and they were talking about. But just this follow the leader, one car at a time, single file is – if I wanted to watch that, Michael, I'd flip over to NASCAR and watch that.
Well, you would have watched a pretty good NASCAR race as well live from Martinsville Speedway. But Josh, what was your thoughts on the race? And then we can all beat up on Derik.
It was an interesting race. I mean, it showed. We're going to talk on a different topic about what I brought up a topic, and we'll talk about it very shortly. But it was an interesting race. I enjoyed it. Of course, Michigan started playing at the same during the race, so I had it on split screen. I was watching it, going back and forth. Hey, priorities. I apologize, but it shows that this race, like you said, it's a follow the leader, and there were some battles in the pack and some other topics that came out of this, but. I'm kind of getting tired, and I've only watched a couple races. I've only watched like the last 4 Barber races, but it just doesn't seem like it's very competitive. Seems like it's your top 3 or 4 are going to be the ones that always win it, and whoever of the last 3 years, whoever leads most of the laps. So I can't wait to get in. We're going to break this race down a lot more, and what the competitive disadvantages and why some cars are fast and why some cars aren't. So, like I said, it was an interesting race. I hope to see that the numbers, whenever they come out with viewership, hopefully it was higher. It looked like it was a very popular, highly attended race. So can't wait to see what our takes are on our topics today.
Well, Josh, you kind of mentioned it, and that's one of our first topics, and it is one that you brought up, and is Barber, is it competitive? Is the racing good? What's our thoughts here on Barber? And it's a track that is kind of European-esque. I have issues with it, and it's not necessarily the racetrack itself. It's all the extracurriculars that everyone's, always talking about. Josh, you sent us a video earlier in our group chat with Mick Schumacher, who's freaked out by the Spider and doesn't really understand it. And, he comes from the racing background there in Formula One, where they don't have a lot of the, antics. It's all about racing and things of that nature. So I thought it was interesting to get his take for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't on with you guys last week. I did make some comments, but just wondering. You know what? You guys were talking about all the antics. The Spider, the woman falling down, and how that was bad for it. You just want to watch the racing. Well, not everybody wants to just watch the racing. Well, a lot of people like to have other stuff happen. Now had that woman mannequin fallen down on the track while drivers were going by, and it hit a driver. That would have been terrible. Hopefully it wouldn't have caused any accidents. But I do like the aesthetics of the track, the waterfall, the museum. I didn't know until this past weekend that it is the largest museum of motorcycles in the world, supposedly, and the Spider is really cool architecture. So, but But my question is this race competitive anymore? You know, the last three drivers that have won this race, which two of them were Alex Palou, have won by an average of 5 to 6 seconds. Alex Palou was so fast yesterday that he was able to pit and get out and still keep the lead. He led over almost 80% of the laps. The year before that, he led somewhere over half the laps. So is this race competitive anymore, or is it just whoever gets in the top 3 is the only ones that has a chance to win?
Well, I'll tackle that first, and I mean, let the results speak for themselves. It seems to me, and again, and Michael, you've probably watched more racing than I have, but it seems to me, particularly on the road and street courses, if you don't qualify potentially in the top 5, unless you have some racing luck and strategy go your way, you don't stand a chance on the road and street courses. But again, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong.
Man, it's, you always look for, strategy to be involved and things of that nature. And you're right. You kind of really have to focus on qualifying. Qualifying is very important on street and road courses, but I mean, there's plenty of drivers that have made their way up through there. Lundgaard was one. Power, gained the most positions, 13 spots, I believe. So there is opportunity, but when you don't have the yellow flags and you don't have, the cautions to bunch the field back up, and you have, 2 or 3 drivers that are pretty, dominant, you're going to have that. We look at, Kyle Kirkwood last week and how dominant he was, but he had the pit road issues. I think we could have been talking about the same sort of subjects there, had he not, had the pit road issues, because he could have just driven away. So it is one of those things where, when you have a true natural race, green, pretty much the whole thing, you're going to have those, runaways. That's what we had this weekend. Is it a Barber thing, or is it an Alex Palou thing? I mean, we have to give credit to Graham Rahal as well. Rahal put on a great race, and finished on the podium. He kind of fell off there that last run, but for the first couple of runs, he was right there within 5 seconds or less of Palou. So, I don't know what more we can look for, when you have a race that goes that long and, green, and, you have that strategy play out. I mean, Lundgaard, and we'll get into that a little bit more later, but if Lundgaard didn't have that pit road issue, we're talking about maybe him winning this race. So I don't know. Yes, Derik, I've watched a lot of races, watched 3 races yesterday. So, when you don't have those cautions to kind of bunch everything back up and kind of create that chaos, that we look for at times, that's when you don't have that, that competitive natural feel. But, there is, like I said in our group chat, there's those times where, that midfield battle is just as good as if they focus in on that. So, I mean, you have to find the things, that are happening on the racetrack. And that's honestly one of the reasons I like being at the race, is because you can see that live and in person. So, yeah, like I said, I think Fox did a wonderful job, highlighting that midfield battle.
We talked about, or you talked about Alex Palou, and again, it seems, week in and week out, we have to find new accolades for Alex Palou. But I had a short text conversation with somebody today that is in the IndyCar circle, per se, and I made an interesting comparison, and I would love to hear Michael and Josh, because I know both of you may not have lived or may not have paid attention to the NBA during this particular era that I'm going to speak of, but doesn't it seem like with Alex Palou and Barry Wanzer, which I think he does not get as much credit as he deserves, the race strategist for Alex Palou, Barry Wanzer. But do you agree that we are living in an era of IndyCar racing dominated by Barry Wanzer and Alex Palou, the same way the mid-90s in the NBA, where the NBA was dominated by Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson? I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't exactly compare. I wouldn't compare Palou to the Bulls, or I guess Jordan and Phil Jackson. I would say they're comparable. They're a little bit comparable, but they're not. And I don't think that the dominance by Palou in any way takes away from the IndyCar circuit. There are several other storylines that come out of races. But if you're a new to the series and you and all you see is Palou winning, I guess you could equate it to that. But once you get deeper into it and you see some of the nuances of the series, I think that you find so much more we could talk about, and I think Fox is doing a great job of trying to find those other stories and highlight them. What do you think, Michael?
I don't know. I don't think it's I don't like comparing other sports per se. I like looking back through the history of the sport we're in to kind of find it. And you look back at Dixon and Frank Heady, they had their success. You look back at Mari Andretti. You look in the IndyCar series, and there's plenty of teams and drivers you can pick from to kind of compare Palou to. So yeah, and I'm not the biggest NBA fan in the world. I will never come on here and even act like I know what's going on. But yeah, I think with the IndyCar series and Alex Palou right now, they just have something. They have something a hold on the hybrid system, and even before the hybrid system, he was good. So they just have everything clicking. And when you have that kind of dominance, I mean, we've seen it, if you want to compare racing series, we can look at the Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton. You can look back to Jimmy Johnson and his feat in NASCAR. So, I mean, there's the history making seasons. He had one last year. I don't know that you'll have one this year. I mean, it is what it is at this point, but I mean, he's good, and you can't take that away from him.
All right, so I guess I have to make the case for the statement I made, because I thought you two would be a little bit more in agreement, but you know what? That's okay. It just seems like to me when Palou and Wanzer are dialed in. Example, Saturday when Palou took the pole, and if I'm the other drivers, I kind of have to feel defeated a little bit going into Sunday when Alex Palou puts his car on pole. That obviously he's on top of his game. I mean, he's as the great Paul Heyman would say, he's the reigning, defending NTT IndyCar Series champion for 3 years in a row now. So you kind of have to feel a little defeated going into Sunday, knowing that Alex Palou may have the best car, and in a quarter of the race, unless he makes a mistake, which is very rare, he's going to run away with this. And I think I equate that to, excuse me, anytime 23 stepped on the court, you knew that you were going to have a tough time beating the Chicago Bulls and Phil Jackson with the triangle offense. So I wonder how defeated teams felt when they seen 23 take the court, knowing that their margin of error is very slim when he was out on the floor and in the starting lineup.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But they weren't unbeatable. I mean, like you said, Alex Palou isn't unbeatable. He does slip up, and there was always a team that would give the Bulls a run for their money. The Pacers did it a lot of times, but I don't know. I mean, if there was something different, if there was, if Palou ran a different engine than everyone else, or I don't know what kind of setup helps him dominate this track so much, or this series so much. What are they doing that is so special that even his teammates can't keep up with him? I don't know. I, for one, don't, like Michael said, if this was a European style track, I don't like this track. I don't think that it's very conducive for racing. And Michael, you were talking about stories in the back, stories from the middle of the pack. Well, I'll give you this. During a football game, do you look where the ball is, which is the main focus, or are you looking at offensive linemen and their battles with defensive linemen, or a defensive back against a wide receiver? Are you focusing more on that or on the ball? I think that saying that yes, there are great things in the middle of the pack. The middle of the pack is like watching offensive linemen look and go against defensive linemen. You're not going to look at that a lot of times, and if you're an average everyday fan. Now, if you're like you two, and you guys are racing enthusiasts, and you just love looking at that number, that P24 and P23 going back and forth, fantastic. But I think that we have to figure out a way to make these races more the street races, or the street races or the road courses a little bit more competitive. I know that was a lot of rambling. I'm sorry.
You're comparing apples and oranges, and it just doesn't work. You have a racing series and you have football. The main focus on football is always the quarterback. It has been for 100 years, it seems like. Whenever there's a quarterback that gets hit, you look at that, we have to protect the quarterback, and you look at that. Racing's totally different. There's so much going on in a race. There's not as much, necessarily going on in a football game that people care about. In racing, you have your favorite driver. So if your favorite driver is an Alex Palou, you're looking more than likely in the mid pack. And that's that's what's different about racing than any other sport. You have, and in most other sports, it's 1v1. This is 1v24 other drivers, or however many. Last year is 27 total drivers. Unless you're at Indy, you got 33. So there's always, your fan base is a lot more diverse, because, when you go to a Colts game or a sports team in general, there's team A and team B. There's, who's going to, a football game, and your team's, out in, California, and you're watching a game here in Indianapolis. It's just not normal to do. So, IndyCar race, racing in general, you have, 25 different fan groups all coming together. So when you look at that aspect of it, you have to, break things down a little differently. So it's hard to compare, the NFL or the NBA to racing. And Derik, you brought up, I know a little bit about basketball, just enough to get me in trouble. Jordan coming on and off the court. Alex Palou doesn't come on and off the racetrack. I mean, he's out there every lap. So the only comparison you could make at that is he comes down pit road, and the team aspect of it comes into play. And we have a couple more topics to talk about there on pit road as well. So it's definitely an Alex Palou race, but we've seen that he can be beaten, and that gives us hope going into the future races coming up.
One last thing about Palou before we beat a dead horse, and I know we want to move on because we have a handful of topics to discuss here with the time we have remaining. But another thing that I've been pondering with Alex Palou, and I would love to get both of your gentlemen's opinions on, with Alex Palou dominating the races that he has so far in his championship runs, and then this year, particularly on Sunday. Do you guys think that Alex Palou is hurting not only the growth of IndyCar, but the viewership that Fox is so heavily trying to bring in?
No, because Jimmy Johnson in his heyday in NASCAR to me didn't bring down the series. What is hurting the series is, to me, is I don't know some of the drivers. Like they don't do a lot of exposés on drivers. I know they have a very short window in their pre-race thing, but they don't. If you ever watch, I'm going to use this as an example. If you ever watch Game Day on ESPN, either basketball or football during while they're on, they will go in and do exposés on different players that are going to show up on your television. They did exposés on a couple of the drivers, but they don't do it on all. I know that Stingray Rob's not a very popular. I mean, he may be a popular driver, but he's not a very good driver right now. And he's not having results. But they got to go in and they got to start doing and focusing more stories, human interest stories, or something on these drivers to get their names out there, to get their faces out there. You can't just do a walk by on the pit road as they're getting ready to start the race and go, "Hey, how you doing today, Stingray Rob?" "Oh, I'm ready for the race." Well, that you're just talking about the race. I want to know more about the driver. I want to know their interests. I want to know, is there a particular reason that they got into racing? Something make them more relatable to the general public. That's just my thought of what holds IndyCar back.
So, Josh, I don't know. I know you briefly talk about F1, but I don't know if you've ever seen Drive to Survive. It's a great TV show, on Netflix. This is what really got me into Formula One, and I think IndyCar could do. And now that Fox has bought in, I think this is definitely something that they could work towards. I know they've tried the 100 days to Indy, and this sounds horrible, but I haven't even caught up fully on that programming. So it is definitely a topic that definitely needs to be discussed, because to get to know the drivers, that's how new fans coming in are going to connect to the drivers. Does the driver you're looking at, does he like the same foods as I do? Does he, there's got to be that human connection. And Josh, you're absolutely right with that. If you have that human connection, oh, he started racing because he's seen, someone else race, or that's my grandpa's favorite driver, so that's what I'll root for that driver. So those are definitely things that need to definitely be in the works for sure.
Definitely great discussion. Hopefully, IndyCar and the powers that be, pick up on these key points and try to grow them as we want to see the sport of IndyCar grow as well. Michael, what's the next topic on the list for this evening?
Yeah, well, we're kind of gonna lump this all together. It's still the pit road problems at Andretti, and Willpower kind of talked about it. He had a potential for a top 10, and then kind of went away with a pit stop there at the end that had a wheel nut get off. So I'm not sure what's going on with the Andretti team and their wheel nuts not staying magnetized to their pit guns, but it's definitely something they should be looking into for sure. Luckily, Kyle Kirkwood didn't have any issues on pit road this weekend, and I don't believe Marcus Ericsson did. So just willpower this weekend on the Andretti crew that had the slip up.
Yeah, I did notice that. I noticed that once again we had, like we talked about a couple episodes ago, we had some problems in the pits. I don't know if it's maybe just because I don't know what it is, and a lot of it's having to do with that nut that's going on that tire. I don't know if I know when I watched. I know from NASCAR they usually glue those nuts like the lug nuts on, but I don't know what is it just magnetized on there, because I know they have the magnetized ones that's the extra one that's on their suit, on the pit crew suit, so they just magnetize onto the rims there, Michael.
No, so it magnetizes to the gun. So when the wheel nut comes off, it's magnetized to the gun. When it goes back on, it threads on to the axle. And it has those, it's like a little, push-in pins, basically, that keep that nut, so if the wheel was to come loose, it's kind of like a safety mechanism to keep that nut on. What's happening is, for whatever reason, when that gun is coming off and that nut comes off, it's not staying connected to the gun. So he's having to grab that back up, throw it on, and keep going. So, yeah, that's definitely the issue they have to solve to be a little bit more competitive. And obviously willpower doesn't need to be crashing and qualifying and things of that nature. He's having a rough go at it to start the year, that's for sure.
Yeah, he is. So yeah, that I don't know, like we were talking about a couple weeks ago, that they need to figured having the break off between races would give them a chance to get in there and hone those skills on pit road. But once again, pit road is slowing so many drivers down and keeping them from having the ability to compete for a win. Derik?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, especially in both cases. You got to feel for willpower. I can't imagine when he decided that he was going to move on from Penske and sign with Andretti Global, that this is what he envisioned his first quarter of the season to look like. So you got to feel for him. And this is stuff that's out of his control. If you really want to be technical about it, he's the driver. He's not the pit crew. So this is definitely out of his control. And then, I know we're going to touch base on this next driver here shortly, but you got to feel for Christian Lundgaard. His interview, if you were able to catch it on the Fox post-race show, he was absolutely adamant that they had the car to beat on Sunday, and I think he's right. But unfortunately, the tire changer on the back right-hand side, which maybe Michael could apply for that job now, knowing this his breakdown of wheels and nuts and bearings and all that jazz. If that guy could got the wheel on the back right wheel, Christian Lundgaard probably sails to a win at Barber. But unfortunately, it just wasn't to be. And the driver is important, obviously, when it comes to a race team. But the pit crew, unfortunately, is starting to rear its ugly head, is how important it is to the sport as well.
I will not be applying for the position of right rear tire changer at Arrow McLaren for the Christian Lundgaard car, because we're not 100% sure it was actually the changer's fault. And Christian to kind of mention that after the fact. The car may have been dropped a little bit too early, a little premature, and that wheel wasn't tight. So, that's kind of one of those issues that's kind of, the speed aspect of it is where it all kind of come together. Now that we're kind of moved on from Andretti to Christian Lundgaard, how in the world? I mean, we talk about a team sport, and you have one driver that is just so much better than the other two cars on that team. And I want to throw out there that we've been talking a lot about Nolan Siegel, and Nolan Siegel, he's got to improve. He's got to improve. Well, we've talked about how he's running back in the 20s, week in and week out. Well, he's improving. That's what we need to see. He's up in the top, 15 this week. He ran there pretty much the whole race. And like I know Josh and I talked a couple weeks ago, he's not going to go from running 20th to running, 5th. It's those incremental, increases that we need to see. So, running 15th is great, for him, I would say. Pato Award was nowhere even in I don't even know if he was at Barber. He may have been racing at a totally different racetrack of how bad his car was. And I know after the race, talking to media members, he said there's absolutely nothing that him or the team can take away from this race. That's how bad he was overall this past weekend. So Josh, Derik, I'd love to get your takes on what is going on at Arrow McLaren.
How long do we have in the show to talk about that? No. Again, just to piggyback, if you're a returning watcher or listener to the show, you know how much I root for Arrow McLaren, but yet how critical I am of Arrow McLaren as well. I have said on this show multiple times, if you go back and listen and watch, they are they becoming the team that is overhyped year in and year out? And again, you talk about Nolan Siegel. What have you done for me lately? Well, Pato Award finished 17th. Nolan Siegel finished 18th. So when you ask it was Pato Award at this race, well, was Nolan Siegel at this race. But yes, I will give Nolan a little bit some flowers. He is gradually progressing and getting better. But it begs the question, outside of Christian Lundgaard, which is he, to branch off, is he becoming the face of Arrow McLaren, not Pato Award? I think that's got to be an interesting question to ponder. But yeah, Christian Lundgaard he is about to break that glass ceiling. He is challenging for wins week in and week out. Pato Award, some courses, some tracks, he'll run in the top 5, but then there's other courses that you need to put his face on a milk carton because you don't know where he's at.
You're exactly correct, Derik. I said several on past episodes, I didn't think, when this question was brought up, I didn't think that Lundgaard was going to become the face of Arrow. I thought Pato Award was, because Pato, he's had success, he's won races, but this year he's fallen off. He's not doing as well. So I think I've changed my stance. Christian Lundgaard is probably the future face of Arrow McLaren, and as sacrilegious as this is, I don't know. I mean, if Pato doesn't come out and do something the rest of the season, I mean, should Arrow McLaren move on from him? I don't know what his contract status is. I see Michael over there shaking his head no. But, I mean, should they move on from him? Is he too inconsistent? He's great in some, like Derik said, he's great in some tracks, but he's just not holding his weight. And when you finish 17th and you are supposed to be a top 10, maybe even top 5 driver on the series, and you're finishing 17th and you didn't crash or have any other incidents that I could remember, I mean, Lundgaard is right now is heads and tails above his other two teammates. And congratulations to Nolan for finishing in the top 20 this week, even though it was low. It was almost to 20, but congratulations to him. He is making progress. But Arrow McLaren and Zach Brown just needs to sit down and figure out what in the world is going on and why are his other two cars just not competing.
I don't know that we need to throw Pato Award completely out of the team just yet. It's one bad race. Before yesterday at Barber, he was third in points and only a couple out of the lead. So let's not throw him out just yet. One bad race. The only thing I can say is just a bad race. You have them, and let's just kind of move on from that. But Derik, I think you're right. I think Lundgaard definitely, over the past year and a half, Arrow McLaren's definitely stepped up into that kind of leadership role. So can he continue that? He kind of fell off last year, if you remember. Kind of got to Indy, and then we didn't really hear from him again. I was pushing hard for him, going into the month of May. Like, man, he's got championship potential, and then just kind of fell off. Month of May kind of snuck up, and then he just kind of snuck out. So it's definitely interesting to look at and see where we're going with Arrow McLaren. And Nolan, making a little bit of improvements is good, but he's gonna have to be consistently in the top 10, I would say, by July. From July to the end of the year, for him not to be at risk of losing that seat, because it is a competitive seat. Arrow McLaren's probably top 3-4 team in the league, so we definitely, that's one of those hot commodity seats. And there's a few names I've heard going around that if they do want to make a change, there's a list of drivers that Arrow McLaren has. So it'll be interesting to definitely see what happens there towards the end of the year with Arrow McLaren.
Before we close the book on discussing Christian Lundgaard, Pato Award, and Arrow McLaren, I want to make a comparison. But before I do, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Do we all agree that Alex Palou and Pato Award have the same equipment? And what I'm saying that is the stuff that Arrow McLaren brings to the track week in and week out is comparable to what Chip Ganassi Racing brings. Are we all in agreement with that?
Well, yeah, by the rules, they all have to have the same things. I mean, you may have personnel that's different. Your personnel may be better and better equipped to prepare a driver and prepare a car. But I mean, if you're talking about equipment rise, I mean, I can't imagine what Arrow McLaren wouldn't have that Chip Ganassi has. I mean, what could there be besides the human aspect of it?
Yeah, I mean, from an engineering standpoint, shock standpoint, I mean, I would say the actual structure of the car is the same. And you talk about Arrow McLaren and you talk about Pato Award and Alex Palou. They actually don't have the same equipment. They have the same car per se, but simulations are different, dampers are different. Aerodynamics are a little bit different. One runs a Chevy, one runs a Honda. Engine mapping is totally different. So there are differences that are within the teams that can be broke down, and clearly, Chip Ganassi and Alex Palou have the better team at this point.
Well, the point I'm trying to make here is we're in agreement that Alex Palou and Pato Award are the faces of their race teams. Well, Pato Award has started 8 more career races than Alex Palou has. Pato Award has started 110. Alex Palou has started 102. Out of those 102 career starts for Alex Palou, he has 21 wins to just Pato Award in 110 starts, 9 wins. So, the proof's in the pudding, I think there.
I also think Alex Palou is a better driver. I mean, hands down, I think he's a better driver. I think he's he's more technically sound than Pato. And I mean, Pato's technically sound, but I think that Alex Palou by far is probably the premier driver of any American not American based drive, American auto racing based series. I don't think there's anyone in NASCAR. I don't think there's anyone in the trucks. I don't think anyone ARCA anywhere that's better than currently driving than Alex Palou.
That's a hot topic that could spend hours debating, Josh. You threw me in for a loop there. Alex Palou is a better driver than anyone in NASCAR. We're gonna let's say, what about Shane Van Gisbergen? Guy goes over to NASCAR. He come from supercars. But let's take Shane out since he doesn't have any open wheel experience. Likes of Max Verstappen, George Russell,
American based.
Okay. All right.
Not where that's why I clarified. I said any American based auto racing series. There are guys that are over in F1 that yes, they do come and race two times over here in the States, but American based auto racing. Oh, okay, 3. I thought there was only 2. So they come over here 3 times, but the majority of their stuff is spent overseas. So American-based, I would say he is the best driver of an American-based auto racing league.
That would be an interesting thing to see if we could get a driver swap with, Kyle Larson. Obviously, we've seen him in a couple of Indy 500s, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what, maybe Shane Van Gisbergen could do in an Indy car on a road course or a street course. It'd be a challenge for him to begin with, but I think he could do pretty well. But yeah, I mean, I get where you're going with it. I get that, Alex Palou is just one of those drivers that is got a special talent, and his demeanor is, the one thing that I will say about Alex Palou, you get these drivers that get to the point where they win so much, they get very cocky, man. He is so you can tell that in his personality and in his demeanor, whether he's being interviewed in the car at the end, he knows that this could be the last win. Every time he wins a race, you could tell, he doesn't know if there's going to be another one. Just the way he's so humble about it and his approach to the media. Anytime I've talked with him, he's been super, super nice. He's very mild mannered. He's very soft spoken as well, which is kind of funny because you see him on on Sunday getting out of the car. He's all hyper and stuff, but even him hyper is still just kind of mild mannered.
Yeah, and every time they cut to him after he wins a race, he's always shouting and excited for his crew and everything, and thanking everybody. So, I mean, as many times as he's won, it's not changed. He's always excited, hyper on that race monitor, thanking his entire crew and everybody else for the hard work that they put in.
I know we could probably spend hours in show after show on this, but. Michael, let's get into the next topic, and I know it's fond to Josh.
Oh, Josh's favorite topic, tires. When I first come onto this show, I thought it was a running joke, and now we've kind of turned it into a running joke because every race it seems like tires get brought up more and more. So it's kind of fun to always talk about them on the show. But I think this past weekend's tires were very interesting, and I'd love to get your guys' takes first before I give you my takes.
By the way, I did. I had a race. I had one of my not my employees. One of my coworkers was talking about how boring the race was today, and he says, "Why do they keep talking about tires, and why do they have to do a soft compound and a hard compound? They need to stop talking about it." I defended it. I said, "Well, it brings a different aspect into the race of, soft tires are fast but aren't going to last you long. So it's a race strategy." So Michael, you're starting to bring me around on the race strategy, and I'm looking more and more into pit stops and who starts on what tires. I didn't feel like the tires were a big thing this week. They're like, as always, they're an interesting foray to it, but I don't think that they came in too, except for maybe Ray Hall towards there at the end. It looked like he was going to get second, but then I think his tires may have just started going away just at the wrong point, and he ended up third. But congratulations to him, first podium since 2023. He was also trying to go for his first win since 2017. But tires were what they were this week, like they always are.
I have to say, Michael, I was a little shocked that the tire strategy was opposite of what everybody was talking about going into the race. And obviously, tires with in the pits played a major role in who won this race. But yeah, it was a shock to me that there was so many misses when it came to tire strategy this weekend at Birmingham.
I find it interesting with the tire compounds because it almost seemed like it was team specific. Some drivers thought the reds were going to be the tire of the race, and others thought it was going to be the harder black tires. And it seemed more and more like it was driver specific. And that's where it gets very, very interesting because of the whole fact of you see the different compounds working well for certain drivers. And when I look at, the soft tire, I still want that soft tire. I don't want that soft tire to be as durable as it is, to be honest. I want that soft tire to last 25% of what the black tire can do, because I want that strategy to where if a late race, caution comes out, what driver's running 11th comes in and throws a set of soft tires on and can make his way back through the field to maybe, get into the top 5, things of that nature. So I still think the soft red compound tire is just a little bit too durable in my opinion.
I will add to that and say it did seem like a lot of teams that were using that red softer compound tire definitely missed on it, especially the ones that started on those reds earlier in the race. I know Fox showed a roof cam, and I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was David Malukas, where it was within 6 or 8 laps, you could see that tire starting to bald a little bit, or there was a specific term they used, and I can't think what it was right offhand. But like I said, I was just shocked how some teams, as you said, just missed, especially when it came to the red softer compound tire.
The term you're thinking of is graining. Graining on the tire is where it goes through that cycle where it starts to lose a little bit of the grip in the tire because of the way the camber is on the tire, but it actually will eventually get through that graining phase and get back to a competitive tire. I want that graining to stay, especially on the soft tires. I just want the tire to wear out in a shorter period of time to where it's not as competitive for, a 30 lap run. I want it to be good for 10, 15 laps. So that way it makes it a little bit more of I don't want it to be a tire that gets raced on, for multiple state or, stints in the race. I want it to be a tire that's used in those. Oh, I have to use it, but when do I use it?
So you want it to play in more into the strategy. You don't want it to be a durable tire. You want it to, you want the cords to start showing. As if you look at a regular automobile tire as a comparison, you want the cords to start showing a lot earlier than what it actually does. Is that correct, Michael?
Yes, and they will actually start cording like your actual street car. Just if they fail, it's a little bit more dramatic than your street car. Hopefully you catch them before you start seeing cords and belts in your street car.
Do you think that at some particular point they could put a limit on how many laps you're allowed to run? Like you can run you can't run any more than 20 laps on it. And it might bring in more of a strategy thing there. Like, okay, should we switch? Everyone's coming up on having on those soft tires, or they're coming up on their 20s. Should we come in at 18 instead of 20? That way, if we're going to hards, that they're starting to warm up a little bit more than 20, than the guys going out at 20.
No, I want Firestone to do that. I want Firestone to make that tire softer and softer so it gives out quicker. And the NASCAR kind of has the same issue right now. Is you look at these tires and you're like, well, I don't want them to fail because then it's going to make the company look bad. No one is expecting their street cars to go 200 miles an hour in a circle for hours on end and figure it out. That argument to me always sounds so idiotic, to be honest with you. But I want Firestone to make the tire give up quicker, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just saying that makes sense. I understand. You just want them to create a tire that tire degradation happens a lot faster.
Interesting take there, and I'm sure if you had backstage access, you would realize that Michael and Josh, it's 24/7, 365 texting, talking about tires. They can't get enough of tires, especially Josh can't get enough of tires. But Michael, I know we have just a few more topics left here before the checker flag falls. What is up next here from the Birmingham race?
It's hot. Who's hot? Who's not? So would love to get you guys' take first, so I don't step on your who's hot, who's not.
Well, I'll take this first one, and I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit as of lately. And I'm going to go with Graham Rahal. I know Josh touched on him a little, not literally, a little bit ago, but you gotta give Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing their props. The struggles that they've had, the roller coaster that they've been on, seems like for the past half decade. But Graham was able to qualify third, and he ended up grabbing his first podium in almost 3 years. So my hot is Graham Rahal.
Well, I'm going to go in a different way. I'm not going to go with a who's hot. I'm going to go with who's lucky. That would be the two cars that went into the barrier, and one of them actually slid up underneath the barrier. I believe it was Will Power and Scott Dixon. Am I correct? Am I correct? Yes, I'm being told. No, sorry.
Scott McLaughlin.
Scott McLaughlin. That's what it was. I knew it was one of the Will Power and Scott McLaughlin. They were the Lord was looking over them this past weekend. If you saw their qualifying or their practices, both of them went off into the gravel and hit the wall, and one of them actually the car kind of went up a little, got up a little bit of air and got up underneath the steel cables, and that. So in that, I'm going to go with switching around to the person that is hot. It's an organization. it's the safety people, the people that have designed this tub, that can happen, and it not and both those drivers be able to walk away with just some minor soreness in the next day. I know they were talking about on the pre-race that both of them were still kind of sore, but so who's hot this week is the safety designers, the people that have made these tubs so durable. And I don't know, Michael, I can't remember if Michael or Derik sent us all a video of, they had an old timey race, throwback race. And if you saw it, one of the drivers was ejected out of the car. It kind of, I don't know how, I don't know if any of you know that a couple of years ago, Derik was in an accident, and he was projected. He was thrown out of his SUV. I don't mean to bring up bad memories, but I kind of imagine that's what happened to Derik on that fateful night and going up to Paulding, Ohio. But just the fact that the guy was able to get up and walk away was crazy to me. But safety crew, safety designers of this tub is who's hot for me this week.
Oh, yes. You wouldn't believe how many times I've watched that video. It's one of those things where it's kind of funny, and it's more funny with the announcers, the way they're like, "Oh, and there he goes." Like, and the best part is one of the announcers said, "Well, he's out of the car and walking." And no, really, he's out of the car. He was thrown from the car. So, yeah, it's definitely thankful for the safety of the Indy cars. Dolaro's done a great job. The implementation of the aero screen was a big part we've talked about. My who's hot this week is someone that I didn't think I would give it to, because there might be a little bit of animosity towards not the driver but the team, and that would be David Malukas. He just ran a good race. He just was pretty competitive, stayed up there in the top 5 all weekend long. If we can go full screen on Josh and he can play that video real quick on his phone, that's give us some audio there. There you go.
Just to be clear, this is not my video. This is not my content. I do not claim ownership of this. But watch this, y'all. And ejecto. I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but just the fact that he was able to get up from this crash was just, and he's out of the car right there, and he's moving, he's walking. If you saw how he was ejected, I mean, it was like a rag doll. Back to you, Michael.
I'm not sure how to come back from that, but I will say, one, I feel watching that video and thinking about the SUV that I was thrown from, my SUV, all joking aside, probably had more safety measures than that car did. And two, again, all joking aside, but when I witnessed Scott McLaughlin go through the catch fence and his car just do a complete right turn into the catch fence, and Josh can back me up on this, it reminds me of when I tee off when I'm golfing. It's just completely right. That's it. My ball just goes completely right, and I feel Scott McLaughlin's pain. All right, that is the who's hot, and again, we always have to do the opposite of that, Michael. Who's not?
Yeah. Yes. Who's not? And the driver. We haven't talked a lot about this driver this year, but the one that stood out to me was Louis Foster. I stole Josh's. Oh, I knew I was going to do that to somebody. Josh is on the other side. If we got his screen, that'd be funny. But he was racing Mick Schumacher like it was the very, they were racing for the win. I mean, they were racing it, and Mick's just trying to learn. I mean, let's give Mick a little bit of credit. He ran the whole race, kept his nose clean, but Louis back there, your teammates running second and third all race long, and we'll give Mick a little bit of an out since he's still learning this car, but Louis been in the series for over a year now. And he's back there racing with Mick like his life depends on it. So very, very interesting for sure to see how bad Louis Foster was yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, even though Michael stole it, I'm still gonna say Louis Foster. I mean, to go from last year being on this upstart team of Prema, with Robert Schwartzman, and this year
no, that was Callum Ilott.
I thought
was with Prema. Louis was with
my bad.
last year.
My bad. Well, to go. Okay, you know what? My entire thing was killed. Prema Racing, just like it was killed. As you can see, I'm very educated in this. I apologize. Michael is over there laughing at me. But Louis Foster racing Mick Schumacher, and Schumacher beating him. Schumacher was famous for saying this over the weekend, of saying that the spider scared him. If you know what I mean, or the falling lady. But Louis Foster's got to figure something out. You shouldn't be racing a rookie in his fourth or fifth race on the circuit, like it's the ending to the Indy 500 and you're getting ready to win. So or trying to win.
All right, I'm gonna have two that are who's not hot. And obviously it's Josh in this segment. He's going to be the first one. And the second one is somebody that we actually just mentioned a little bit ago. If you go back and listen to the show later on this evening when it's in the audio form. But Palou Award. He was nowhere, like you said, nowhere to be found on Sunday. And it does seem like on some of these street courses, his face, along with Nolan Siegel from Arrow McLaren, needs to be put on a milk carton because they're nowhere to be found. So my who's not hot this week in this segment is Josh, but overall it's Palou Award.
Well, I'm glad you gave it to Josh because that segment was great. It's pretty interesting. I do want to. Josh is going to say something. No,
I'm sorry. As I always say, I am not as detail orientated as these two guys, and I could have sworn that Louis Foster was on Prema, and I guess it was Callum Ilott and Robert Schwartzman, but Prema doesn't exist anymore.
But they're just not here yet. It's kind of a bizarre situation. But I've teased this for 2 weeks now, and looking at the numbers, it's actually kind of sad. I thought this was better. The Honda hybrid era is not as dominant as I thought. It's been dominant, and that's probably just Alex Palou's fault. But they've only won 17 of the 30 races. Chevy's won the others 13. Which is, it's still a winning percentage of 56%, so a little bit above average. So I thought that was interesting. I doodled those notes real quick. Hopefully those numbers are correct. If not, someone can double check those at some point if they would like. But another thing that's being dominated this year and Derik and Josh aren't very happy about is our points pick situation. What's going on there? Derik has fallen asleep. He's shaking his head. No, he's not falling asleep.
Well, as you can see, Michael has taken a commanding lead over me, Joy, and Derik. He has taken the last two winners. Albeit it was a very, very easy pick this week to take Palou, seeing he was the pole sitter and won this race last year. I give him no credit because Derik was asking for his pick on Saturday, and he waited all the way till Sunday to figure out just to pick the favorite. So, but you know what? He's still winning, and but with our added points now, added extra points if your driver wins, somebody could always come back. Somebody could choose a couple hot drivers, and they end up picking up the wins. And it could turn around in an instant. But right now, we'll give Michael all the credit in the world because he's chosen 2 drivers in a row that have won. And we'll see when we get to Long Beach who he chooses. Is it going to be the pole sitter? Is it going to be the 24th car? Or is it going to be the second place car? I don't know. It's a wild card. We could always say.
See, Michael, I wasn't going to give you my strategy, but you know what? Now that you are the Alex Palou of picks, I've just been sandbagging the whole time like you do in bowling. I'm going to make a comeback here. And one good thing about this is there's still 2 of us, and Joy is literally pissed off about this. She picks Alex Palou and he crashes. You pick Alex Palou and he gets lucky because Christian Lundgaard's tire changer can't change a tire, but you can't use him anymore. So now you got to hope that somebody other than Alex Palou can carry your team.
Well, that's true. And I've picked a few. I picked Mick Schumacher already, for crying out loud. So, give me a little bit of credit there. I did pick 2 winners, but I picked, Mick Schumacher as well. So give me just a little bit of credit here.
Yeah, you did. You picked a winner. You picked a great one to pick Schumacher and get your less than drivers out of the way, so that as we go down the stretch, you have some great drivers. We still haven't figured out what we're going to do, the rules for when May comes around, because we're going to have 3 races in May, if you count both Indies and Detroit. So it's a long way away. We still have several races to go.
Yes, we do. It's as Michael knows, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I've been sandbagging, but I'm going to make a comeback here. This is going to be the greatest comeback ever. Is what this is.
That's the only way that it makes sense, because no one's picking Romain Grosjean and Dennis Hauger.
I picked Grosjean one time.
I know.
And I think he cut a tire before the thing even started.
That was Armstrong.
Armstrong, but I picked Grosjean.
Not Louis Marcus.
Louis Armstrong played a musical instrument.
Oh, Derik, get us off of here.
Yeah, this is falling so far off the rails, and
we've ejected people.
Money bags
the rails,
over there.
The rails are now off this
for all this, but hey, you know what? I picked Romain Grosjean and Dennis Hauger. So again, I'm telling you, I am just sandbagging, Michael. I'm gonna let you feel good about yourself. I've sandbagged the whole quarter of the season so far, but just wait. As one famous individual said, this is going to be the greatest comeback in the history of comebacks. So, all right. Michael, looking at the topics, I believe we have covered everything that we decided on this evening. Any last words from either one of you before we get on out of here?
Happy Easter to any of you that out there that celebrate that holiday coming up this Sunday. It looks like we are going to take a hiatus for a week to observe the holiday, because they don't have a race this weekend, nor do they have a race. I think the next race isn't until the 19th, if I'm correct. So we're going to take a week off, which is going to allow me not to have to miss another show due to the fact that I'll be downtown watching my beloved Wolverines going for a national championship, because we will beat Arizona this coming weekend. You can boo me all you want, sir. It doesn't matter. You guys had a chance to get Dusty May. IU had a chance to get Dusty May, and you all passed on him. So just live with it and bleh.
Yes, happy Easter to everyone out there, and yeah, we'll take a week off, and we'll be back to preview Long Beach on whatever day that is. That Monday, it'll be April 13th. We'll be back to preview Long Beach.
Yeah, just to share what the other two guys said. Yeah, definitely happy early Easter to everyone. If you are able, if you do that, make sure you get to a church service this weekend. It'll do some of you guys more than some of you guys some good. But yeah, definitely happy Easter to everyone. Happy early Easter. And yes, we are going to take a little bit of a hiatus as the NTT IndyCar series is as well. We will be back again, like they said, to April 13th to preview the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. So until then, huge thank you to everyone behind the scenes that makes this possible here on the Push to Pass podcast. Also, huge thank you to Josh and Michael for everything that they do behind the scenes and during the show. Definitely couldn't run this as smoothly as we do without them. So for myself, Josh, Michael, and everyone else that makes up the Push to Pass podcast, we will be back April 13th to preview the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. Until then, so long, everybody.